Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been several weeks since I posted a new video. I had been preoccupied with some work duties that involved traveling and found it hard to be in a place where I could record a new one until I'm back here at home. And so I just went ahead and took several weeks off, but now I'm back. For this video, I'd like to riff a little bit on a blog post that I had posted on my website back in September of 2021 called There Is No Normal Life, There's Just Life. And in that blog post, I described a scene from the movie Tombstone where Kurt Russell's character, Wyatt Earp, and Val Kilmer, who was playing Doc Holliday, so it's a Western, they're sitting there where Doc Holliday is dying because he died at a young age of tuberculosis, and they're talking. And in the course of their conversation, Doc Holliday asks Wyatt Earp what he wants, and Wyatt Earp responds, "I just want to have a normal life." Well, you can imagine Wyatt Earp's life was anything but what we would consider normal, and I think even he felt like it was out of the ordinary, which is why we're still talking about him 150 years later. But his response, "I just want to have a normal life," and Doc Holliday came back at him with, "There is no normal life, Wyatt. There's just life. So get on with it." And in my blog post that followed that, relating that uh, interaction, I talked about that a little bit, and I'd like to talk about it now because the whole quest for a normal life, since I wrote this blog post last September, seems even more elusive than it did at the time. At that time, we were still, of course, dealing with the pandemic and financial crisis and all that. Well, since then, a lot of things have only gotten worse. We've seen the pandemic crest around the first of the year with the Omicron variant, and that continues on to some degree, although that's gotten a little bit better. But now we've got a war in Ukraine and other world crises happening. And I still hear people say, "I just want things to get back to normal." Well, don't we all? Uh, the trouble is, what is normal? What is the norm, the baseline for what life, our lives, or all of life ought to be? Is there any time in human history that's considered normal? Some point where we could go back to and say, this is normal. Everything is just right, the way it ought to be. Seriously? That doesn't happen on the world stage, and rarely does it happen even in our own individual lives. Sure, we may have days here and there where, many days where nothing eventful happens, where there's no flat tires, where there's no um, financial problem or illness or whatever going on in our lives, and we go about our business. And maybe we're longing for life to involve lots of days like that. But when you step back from that and look at the bigger picture, most of us have things that crowd in on the large stage, the macro element of it, that um, certainly represent anything but baseline normal. We do have financial crises. We do have family struggles, job losses or job changes, deaths in our family, um, all kinds of things crowd in and prevent normal from happening. And so, what are we to make of that? Some people respond by looking at someone else's life and wishing for their life, thinking that the life someone else has is normal and they want that. Well, we don't have someone else's life, we have our own, and we have it to contend with. And whatever um, ups and downs that we might have, those actually are normal because our lives involve those things. It involves the unexpected. And so I'd just like to kind of wrap this up. I'd encourage you to read my entire blog post. You can go to cliffordberger.com and um, find that one. Um, there's no normal life, there's just life, and read the rest of what I have to say on it. But in my desire to keep this video short, I'll let it go at that. But just encourage all of us not to hope and wait for life to return to normal, because guess what? That's probably not going to happen. Normal may be hard to find. It may be disappointing. It may not be what we expect. As Doc Holliday said, there is no normal life. So let's live life going forward rather than looking for something that's a baseline of what we might ideally think it ought to be. There's no normal life, there's just life. So I'll see you in the next one.